Coach Sully here. We live in a world where everybody wants everything right now. Everyone's looking for fast results, but nothing usually comes quick. In order to get anything significant, anything important, we have to have longevity and be able to stick to something for a long period of time. So, in today's MatChat, we're going to be talking about how to play the long game and why it's important to be able to play the long game. Now, in order to play the long game, we have to ask, why do people quit early? And I think it's pretty simple. I think people lack vision. I think people lack imagination. I think people don't allow themselves to envision, to fantasize, to connect with those outcomes. So when those outcomes don't materialize in their life, they don't really miss anything. Now, in order to do something and stick with it for a long period of time, you have to be connected to that result, connected to that destination on a deep level. In order to get to that without actually experiencing that, because a lot of times the thing that you want to achieve, you've never achieved before. In order to make that connection and give yourself enough of a bond to that outcome to keep you pursuing it for a long period of time, you have to have vividly imagined that outcome. You have to you have to have connected to that outcome, connected to that destination so deeply that you cannot live without it. And in order to get there, in order to make that sort of connection, you have to have a vivid imagination and a vivid picture for what you want that outcome, that destination to look like. So the big reason why people quit too early is they just haven't made a connection to the thing that they say that they want. They either haven't fallen deeply in love with that outcome, or they haven't imagined a world without that outcome and created circumstances in which they are afraid of not reaching that outcome. See, we have to be motivated by certain desires, by deep desires, in order to keep us after something for a long period of time. Because as you pursue something important, as you pursue something big, the, I guess, on surface reward is few and far between. Nobody's going to be cheering for you. Nobody's going to be noticing. You're not going to be able to get credit for what you've done. You have to have a connection that does not come from the external world. You have to have a deep connection. And you have to be so connected to that outcome that you show up every day. You show up. Now, a lot of times people will find it hard to take that initial step of showing up. And showing up is a powerful, powerful thing. But we make it difficult when it's simple. Using, let's say, a trip to the gym as an example. The biggest battle is fought getting up, getting into your car, grabbing your bag, and getting there. But once you get there, it's easy. And it's a little counterintuitive. It feels like it's backwards because when you get there, that's when the work starts. And getting there is the easiest part of the work. But mentally, that part, the getting there, the showing up part, ends up being the most difficult because that voice of doubt, the voice of the discouraging voice, that's when that voice is the loudest. And that's when that voice is difficult to overcome. But it also shows how powerful showing up is. Because when you show up, after you've shown up, a lot of times you're just plugging into momentum. Again, using a trip to the gym as an example, you show up and now you're in the environment. Now you're among others that have similar goals to as you do. Now you have that social pressure to get in there and do the work. Now you're looking at it from a standpoint of, I'm here, I might as well get it done. And if you notice, when you show up, once you get there, that time passes really quickly. It's almost like, wow, where'd the time go? And it makes it so that the show up part ends up being the most difficult part of the process. Because after you show up, there's so much momentum that you can draw from. It puts you on autopilot. It accelerates your energy. It pumps you up and it gets you through the work. And it's kind of funny. Again, it's like the work, the actual work part is the easy part, and the getting to the work part ends up being the most difficult part. But what gets you over, what allows you to master showing up is routine. If you make it a routine thing, that voice that tries to talk you out of showing up, that voice gets quieter. If you make it a habit, it happens automatically. And where people drop the ball with showing up is they do not make it a habit, they don't make it a routine, and then they have to face that loud voice of doubt, a fresh loud voice of doubt every time they need to show up. The only thing that will make that voice quiet is routine. So in order to master showing up, you have to master routine, put it on a routine, put it on a schedule, and that will make the show up part a lot easier. And then we have to be able to take small steps. Now, when you look at anything important, any major accomplishment, any work that's significant, it's going to take time. Anything that happens quickly isn't worth its weight. Anything significant is going to take time. So every step that leads you to that significant outcome, by default, is going to be a small step. So also by default, if you want to accomplish something big, you have to master taking small steps. How do you master taking small steps? You make the celebration and the reward smaller. You track your progress and celebrate your progress, no matter how small it may be. You make it so you're less dependent on external validation. Because when we're taking small steps, nobody notices. People only notice when you take a huge leap in a certain direction. When you're taking small steps, you're not going to get that external validation. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with looking the same way you looked yesterday. You have to be able to attach to different markers. And that's why it's important just to track the work, is to celebrate the work. Don't, yes, celebrate the outcomes. Yes, celebrate the results, but celebrate the work, because the work is always quantifiable. The work is you can always count the work. You know, you did 10 push ups today. You might not have gotten the muscle mass that you're ultimately looking for, but you did your 10. You can count that. You can celebrate that. And that's how you are able to successfully take the small steps. You have to be able to find motivation in those small steps, because it is all broken down into small steps. When somebody's trying to climb a mountain, yeah, maybe initially they'll look at the top of the mountain and they'll say, "Ooh, I can't wait to get up there." But ultimately, it's going to be those steps in front of them that's going to lead them to climbing that mountain. And they have to be able to look at those steps in front of them and keep putting one foot in front of the other. And what motivates you to do that is giving yourself reason to celebrate those small steps, because all small steps lead to bigger destinations. And it's the consistency of being able to take small steps, being able to stay focused on where you're going, and continue to put one foot in front of the other. Small steps win. Consistency wins. And we have to prioritize longevity over intensity. Intensity always gets the spotlight. You know, if somebody hits a home run, oh my God. When the quarterback throws a Hail Mary, that was a phenomenal play. But it's that consistent running game that wins the game. Intensity is quick and exciting, but intensity is few and far between. Longevity is quiet and consistent. Like I said, when you're looking at accomplishing anything worthwhile, it's the longevity that gets you there, not the intensity, not the big burst of energy. It's the consistent small bursts of energy over a long period of time that gets you to the destination. And if you're unable to sustain consistency, there's no size burst of intensity that's going to get you there. That's like looking at a mountain and say, instead of me taking one step, put it in front of the other, next step, next step, next step, I'm going to leap and jump to the top. You're only limited by the amount, the height that you're able to leap at that moment. There is no way possible for you to leap to the top of the mountain. But it is very possible for you, over a period of time, put one step in front of the other, one foot in front of the other, and make it to the top of the mountain. And when you're able to maintain consistency, when you're able to continually work and maintain something, then you build something that lasts. How's the saying go? Rome wasn't built in a day. Nothing significant is going to get built in a short period of time. In order to build something that lasts, we have to have a solid foundation. We have to have a solid structure. We have to have a detailed plan. And if we don't have those things, no matter what we build, is going to just collapse. Now, when we're talking about building something, it's not just about building it, it's also about maintaining it. When you look at relationships, it's the maintenance of the relationship that keeps the relationship going long term. You can start off with all of the greatest building blocks, the most compatible personalities, the most loving intentions, but it's the consistent maintenance that keeps it up. You look at any major structure that's built. If they build it, I don't care how strong they build it, they just leave it, eventually the environment, conditions will wear it down. And the same thing applies to anything you do in life. Even as a martial artist, doesn't matter how good I was, if I'm not working to maintain it, everything that I work to achieve, any skill that I've worked to build ends up eventually deteriorating. So a big part of longevity, a big part of building something that lasts is maintaining it and keeping up with it, refreshing it with new information, applying the new information, adjusting to different circumstances and conditions. All of these things apply when it comes to longevity. But to sum it up, the long game is a quiet game. It's not a flashy game. It's not something that happens overnight. And it's crazy because we live in such a fast-paced society. It's almost wired people contrary to what's beneficial to them. It makes us, we've devalued working on something for a long period of time. We value the overnight success. When it's rarely the case that people win overnight, that success is achieved overnight. We have to be able to play the long game. And the long game requires you to stay with it, don't quit too early, requires you to show up, requires you to be able to take small steps, requires you to prioritize longevity over intensity. And it requires you to maintain the thing that you built if you want it to last. All right, guys, hopefully that was something beneficial. Till next week, Coach Sully, Reps and Sweat, Frederick, Maryland. This was MatChat.